Hi everybody, this is Celeste. I'm a nationally certified interventionist. I'm a recovery coach. I'm also a family coach, and I'm here for Q&A Thursday. And I had a really good question after my video that I did on how I was celebrating 4 years of sobriety. I did that video last week, and somebody asked me afterwards, how do you deal, as somebody in recovery, how do you deal with the hard times that come up, that all of us have to deal with? Whether you're in recovery or not in recovery, how do you cope with the difficult situations that come up? And this was a really good question. Because whether you're in recovery or not, we're going to get these situations that come up where you're just like, oh my God, really? And it could be anything from the car breaking down to being overloaded at work, or whatever, the things that come up on a day-to-day basis, or, COVID. I mean, COVID is a really big stress for people right now. And even the other day I was talking in one of my posts about one of the things that really is a significant contributor to addiction is social support. And for people in recovery, it's really important to get that social connection back, to feel like you're supported in your journey. And when we do go through the hard times, that social connection is so huge. So people are really struggling with COVID from the perspective of lack of being connected with family and friends, and a lot of us have had our work disrupted in some way, shape, or form, whether it be being laid off or working from home. It creates this whole new dynamic. And some people have lost their jobs or have small businesses that are struggling, so there's that financial aspect. And thank goodness for some of the recovery benefits that the government's offering, but some people don't qualify. So I'm going to use a real example from my own life that I'm a struggle that I'm going through right now. And I have someone in my life that feels the need to be disrespectful and bullying me on an ongoing basis, and this has been something that's been going on for quite a while, that I've been struggling with, and I've really had to take steps in the last couple of weeks to better manage that, because it's it affects you, and we all think that once we leave the playground that the bullying is going to stop, but unfortunately it continues into adulthood. And it's such a common thing in workplaces to have bullies, or a bully in the family. Like, it's hard to even walk down the street and not encounter a bully or somebody that wants to be disrespectful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I'm dealing with that situation and how I've come to terms with that. And so for me, I really had to get past the work on the emotional aspect of it, because there's a lot of emotions that come up, if you're being bullied, like shame, fear, fear of losing your job, or fear of being judged if you stand up, that fear of conflict, feeling stressed and anxious. And, a lot of times with bullies, there's no rhyme or reason to what, when they're going to be disrespectful, or when they're going to challenge you. Like, there's no rhyme or reason, so it kind of leaves you feeling like you're walking on eggshells. And so really kind of being self-aware of what was going on for me and the anxiety that it was causing me, and really feeling okay with not feeling okay, because I think a lot of times we feel like we've got to put this face on that, in spite of being bullied, and we've got to put on a brave face. And so many people say, well, just go get over it, don't let it get to you, that toxic positivity. But I really had to reach out to some of my supports and talk to them about it, and come up with a game plan for how I was going to approach this situation, because the last thing you want to do with somebody that's being disrespectful or bullying or whatever is to get mad in return, because then you're just adding fuel to that fire. So I really had to talk it through and come up with a solid game plan. And I had a really interesting conversation with somebody on this about 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about just being able to stand up and speak your truth, and letting the universe take care of the consequences. Because that might sound very touchy-feely, but there's a freedom in that comes with that you have to feel really comfortable in your own skin to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna speak my truth. I'm gonna set my boundaries, and then let the chips fall where they may. And that's a very difficult spot to get to when you're if it's in a work situation and being afraid of being reprimanded or excuse me, or losing your job, especially now with COVID. That's really hard. But weighing the consequences, right? The pros and cons of each, and that's a really powerful thing. So for me, it was getting to the point where I, I wasn't productive at work. I wasn't feeling like I was doing my best, and I'm like, you know what? The mental health aspect of the impact that this was having on me, I really had to outweigh that with the fear of this could happen. What if you could what if yourself to death? And I was getting to the point where I felt like, do I go on stress leave? Do I quit? Do I find something else? And at the end of the day, coming to the realization that if I stand up or don't, the consequences could end up being the same. Because if I'm not doing my best at my job because this is in the background being a distraction, I could end up being fired anyways because I'm not feeling as productive. So if that makes sense. So having to get to a point where you feel comfortable with the consequences of speaking your truth. And I know that sounds maybe very cliche or whatever and touchy-feely, but a lot of hard work went into that. And I had to come a long way in my own recovery. Like, coming 4 years into recovery, it took a lot of internal work for me to be able to realize that I don't have to put up with this. I don't deserve this. And chances are, if you continue to be bullied in any situation, you're either going to get so mad or so discouraged that you're just going to leave anyways. So the difference ends up being the same. And so just coming to it, I really had to work hard on coming to that sense of peace and knowing that sometimes it's important to just say what you believe in. And people don't necessarily have to like it or agree with it, but a lot of times people will respect you more for it. So I hope that was helpful in answering the questions and how I deal with the hard times. And I still go through those moments of anxiety and where I have to stop myself and say, you know what, you're not coping with this well. And really just being self-aware and taking time to be able to stop and sometimes just sit in those negative feelings, the disappointment, the anger, the resentment, the anxiety, the shame, the guilt, whatever. Sometimes it's okay to just sit there and say, this sucks right now, and to just feel it, and to then come up with an action plan to say, I don't want to continue to feel this. So, and that's very empowering, and there's a lot of empowerment that comes with that. So I hope that was helpful. Submit your other questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.